Thank you, Madam Chair. Once again, we find ourselves here in this committee dealing with issues that we have absolutely no jurisdiction to associate ourselves with here. And yet today the Democrats are trying to convince us that abortion is a constitutional right, which, look, arguably, you've got about as much constitutional right to kill an unborn baby as you do your neighbor. It is the preamble of our Constitution that states clearly that the purpose of our Constitution is to secure the blessings of liberty for ourselves and our posterity, which of course are those that are not yet born. Certainly it is not the intent of the Constitution to kill the unborn and our posterity, but to secure the blessings of liberty for them. And yet here we are again, Madam Chair, we have time and again written letters and made requests for oversight of the executive branch. We have serious issues in this country that we have not been able to have hearings on, from the withdrawal in Afghanistan to the southern border, where we have COVID coming across the border, drugs, human trafficking, criminals, terrorists, and who knows what else, and still no hearings to address those issues, inflation, on and on and on. And unless we deal with the disastrous decisions of this horrendous and the horrendous failures of this administration, those things are going to continue in our country. But here we are dealing with abortion. And I would just say, as a pastor, I've dealt with this for over 25 years. I am unapologetically pro-life. I've spoken, marched, voted, listened, prayed on this issue for decades. I appreciate my colleague, Kat Kamek, for her incredible testimony earlier this morning. And I have to say, I was shocked last week as my colleagues on the other side of the aisle voted against the protection of a baby born alive from a botched abortion. And yet we are told the baby is somehow the mother's body. I wonder if that baby lying on the table there is considered the woman's body, and that it's okay to kill that baby. Yeah, my colleagues voted in that direction last week. I have seen over and over and over for decades, and have prayed with, ministered to, and helped women who are suffering emotionally and physically with the results of abortion, and I believe this needs to be a major topic, likewise, that is discussed here. Our federal government should not be in the business of expanding abortions, but in limiting it. And so from that, Dr. Skopp, I want to thank you for being here. Your testimony was incredible. From your professional and scientific opinion perspective, is it correct to refer to the baby in the womb as the woman's body?
Thank you, Congressman. The baby has his own genetic makeup, half of which comes from his mother and half from his father. He is dependent on his mother, and yet dependency should not be a criteria of who has a right to live and who may be killed, because a newborn infant clearly is dependent. Human beings are very, very dependent for the early part of their life, unlike many animals. We need our mothers to care for us, to bring us to birth, and then to care for us even afterwards. So he is, although part of the body, or in the body, he is no more a part of the woman's body than a car in the garage is a consistent feature of the garage.
Okay, and listen, dependency, it'd be like saying if a toddler fell in a swimming pool because it's dependent upon someone else to save it, it's not of value. We need to just let it drown. It's the same. We could go down that path. Dependency is not the issue. It's a separate individual in the womb. Can you tell us how many women die each year from abortion procedure complications? Do you have any idea?
I cannot tell you that because our country has very, very poor data on deaths related to abortion. There are many reasons for this. One is that there's really no clear federal mandate to report deaths related to abortion. I'm sure many members of this committee are aware that there is a maternal mortality crisis in our country across the board. And studies have documented that probably between 50 and 75% of even maternal deaths that occur related to childbirth, related to care in a hospital, many of those do not get reported on the death certificate. And there are various reasons for that that I probably won't go into, but the CDC primarily draws their data from death certificates, and they are ignoring the fact that it is very, very difficult to document on a death certificate a death, for example, if a woman has an abortion and commits suicide out of guilt 6 weeks later, that will almost never be documented. Many abortion providers do not maintain hospital privileges. It is very common, I've seen this in my own profession when I'm taking care of women in the emergency room, for a woman not to return to the abortion provider if she has a complication, to come to me. Many times she's ashamed and she won't even tell me that it was an abortion that led to the complication.
The gentleman's time has expired. If you can wrap up.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Anyway, it's very, very poor data, so we do not know the answer to that question.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
The